on the Spindash pre-show.
Yay!
Yay!
It's 6:30, so if you want to start that thing at 7, we should probably get started.
Oh, hey, save as.
Yeah.
It is empty. Thank you.
Okay. Copy link location and paste into Twitter. Spindash Live is now live. Come listen now before it's over. Take that, Twitter.
Oh, hooray! I'm recording now. That's good news.
Yes, it is. So, is everyone ready?
Yes.
Sure.
I'm ready. Do you have a? Can you give me that Google Doc again?
Sure.
You know what? I'll just find it on your links you gave me last night.
Show notes that.
Here.
Let's see. GX was playing Obi-Wan Kenobi for the 3DS.
There it is. I got it.
Okie doke. So, in the context of the Spindash, do you prefer your handle or your name?
I don't really have a handle.
What if his name is Sir Handle?
You did have a handle. I knew you
I think your name should...
I just normally go by my real name.
Jason it is. Jason it is. Just as my real name is Geo. Wink, wink, nudge. Wink, wink.
I'm Robin. Yeah.
Oh, I bet I know why this is going so slowly.
Because we're on the same network.
No, because it was trying to install a Java update.
Oh.
Ah.
That would do it.
Is it done installing Java? Is your computer
Apparently,
full of
it just
coffee?
said your update for Java has installed. Oh, I wish. That would be the best.
So, let's get this party started, question mark?
Yes. Period.
Let's get this started party.
Is everyone recording?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll assume Jason is also saying yes.
I'm ready.
Okay, we're gonna clap in. We're gonna do our sync clap in 3.
Hold on, I gotta.
After I stop bumping the microphone.
Get the microphone down here. So. Okay.
Okay, sync clap in 3, 2, 1, and then I hit the microphone again because I suck.
Very nicely done there, by the way.
So, okay, so this has been Ash Live. We're probably going to try to do this. I'm aiming for monthly, which is why I labeled it for February, and what day we're recording. Star Post, no big questions there. Spin Cycle, we're just talking about, hey, IIZUKA said some things, and then someone on a message board said a bunch of things, but I can't confirm it, so we're going to talk about it as an excuse to just talk about the dumb Sonic movie.
So we're going to say some things.
That is the goal of this podcast, is to make words come out of our face holes.
Other people said things, and now we're going to say things, too.
Okay. Anything before we start?
Nope.
Nothing I can think of, Batman.
Not really.
Awesome. So let's get started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, and welcome to the Spindash Live, our very first episode of the post-episode that we're doing here that is now technically, I guess, a new series, but a spin-off series, but no, the actual series. Hey, this is the Spindash only. We're doing all the episodes live now, and it's just easier than numbering them and pretending that I haven't been away for about 1.5 years.
That sounds like a good plan.
So this is the Spindash Live for February 2016, recorded on February 18th, 2016. And
it'd have been funnier if it was in 2015, actually.
It potentially could have been funnier, but it also would have been timely as well. And we can't have that. So we've got a plethora of hosts this week. We've got our ever
Well, I would call
stalwart.
myself a guest.
Everyone's a guest. I'm a guest. He's a guest.
You're a
She's
guest.
a guest.
Everybody's a guest.
Just
I
like on
guess
Oprah.
so.
The confident voice you hear there is our good friend Evil Dr. Reef.
Well, hi there, buddy.
That feminine voice we hear over there is Saber Violet.
Oh, hi, guys.
Well, hi there, buddy. Oh,
Hi
you
there,
met her.
buddy.
Okay.
And the mature, aged voice that we hear in the background is Jason Barry, writer for Sonic Stadium and host of Sonic Talk.
Hello, how you doing? I'm a middle-aged old man. And I'm the host of Sonic Talk, yes. Thank you very much.
Indeed.
And you are a co-host on there.
I am the person who attempts to ruin it as best he can. Successfully, might I add. So, this week we've got the Star Post, and we've got our Spin Cycle. In our Spin Cycle this week, we are talking about a lot of quotes that have happened recently. It's a good way to catch up on what Sonic has been doing by just taking a look at, hey, IIZUKA said a bunch of things to Polygon, and then someone on a message board said a bunch of things about the Sonic movie. Let's talk about them in some sort of vague framework. And we've got
That sounds
our,
like a
jeez.
plan.
we've got our traditional spin box and blast processing, cutting out a little bit of the fat just so that, hey, spin dashes are going to be quicker, easier, and more frequent to get out, by which I mean hopefully monthly. So over
Same great taste, less filling.
over in the Star Post this week, Jason, it looks like you've got the early release game from Disney, you've got an early release game from Capcom, and you've got Konami shilling insurance. What would you like to talk about?
Oh, okay. First off, I don't normally do a Steam early access, but for some reason last month I actually have 2 early access games I ended up with, because one of them was emailed to me, was Disney was talking about Tron Run, which I love Tron, so I wanted to check that out, and it was an early access game for $9.99, which has now been released since last Tuesday at the price of $19.99 if you didn't get in.
Or
Early
$40 if you
for
want all
basically
the
the beta
downloadable
test.
content.
Right.
Mhm.
And surprisingly, those of you who are wondering what's Sanzaro's doing while the delay of Sonic Boom Fire and Ice is going on, they are the developers on this one. And it's very basic. It's kind of an auto runner like you would see normally on an iPhone or Android, device. But it's a full-blown PC game. It's got 10 levels of you running, jumping, sliding on walls, doing all this other stuff, and then 10 other levels of doing a light cycle race where you have to try to beat the timer and gain more time, and then a endless runner mode where you just keep going for as long as you can.
Now, you say auto run, but we're not talking something as simple as like tempo run, right?
No, I think the reason, I don't know if this is the truth or anything, but I think they probably set this out to be a mobile game, and they got a little too ambitious for it or something, because it does have a lot of different button motions to it. You're using at least 3 or 4 buttons, plus a combination of things. You're also using one of the LNR triggers. So it's a bit more sophisticated than your average Temple Run Sonic Dash type of game.
I mean, it looks like you're not actually running on tracks per se. Are you actually controlling your position? Are you controlling it almost a little bit more like a racing game?
Well, yeah, in the light cycle you definitely are, because you're going forward and you're going left and right. And here in the running section you can also run from left to right, or you can press the LR buttons and tap dash left or right if you wish to. But you have pretty much full control of your character at the time. The only thing he's doing that you have no control over is he's running forward.
So I kind of have to ask, from your perspective, obviously you didn't have to. You got in early. You didn't
Right.
necessarily have to pay the current asking price. I guess my first question is, do you think it's worth the $20 they're asking? And then following up on that, would you be willing to pay the 10 or 20 more for additional content for it?
$20 is a bit high, I'd say. I'm
That's
glad I
kinda
got
what I
in when
thought.
it was 10. I enjoy Tron, and this is not a bad Tron game if you're a fan of that series. It's definitely not that bad at all. But there is not hardly that much content at all for $20. If
So
the rest of the
it's really
DLC were
banking that you'll
free,
want the title.
then maybe that would be okay. But $20 is a bit steep. $10 was the right price, I think, for this.
Mm. That's a little unfortunate, although I guess the other hand to that is that it's Steam and it will be $10 about 4 times a year.
Right, or $5 or $2,
So,
depending on.
Actually,
Depending on how
99
well it
cents.
sells.
so it looks like you also wanted to give a couple shout-outs to, I guess, Metal Gear Solid and something about GameFly.
Okay, yeah, I mentioned that. Okay, I finally canceled my GameFly subscription that I've had for about 10 years. And the reason being is, back in the day, it made more sense for me because there was like Blockbuster Video and Hollywood Video going on, and renting a game would cost about $6 and you'd get like 3 days worth, whereas
Right.
through GameFly, they always had a Los Angeles office, so I usually got my, when I returned the game, I got a new one within 48 hours, which was great. And I can keep it as long as I want. But now with Redbox and with a lot of game deals going on, I don't rent as often as I normally would, or when I rent, I'd just go to Redbox and try it out for a day and see if I like it or not. But the problem I've been occurring for the last year or two is I'd rent a game from GameFly and then hold on to it for way too long and barely play it. And
I believe that is also
this.
the Netflix quandary.
Yes, a lot of people.
Yeah.
I did that with the Walking Dead Season 2. I don't even think I finished it. And with Metal Gear Solid 5, I actually rented that back in September. Went through the first level, which is kind of a horror-style level where you're trying to get out of this hospital while the enemy's trying to kill you, and it turns into this real violent debacle. The rest of the game isn't like that at all. It's actually an open world. How could I put this? Espionage type game where you're going through different missions in Afghanistan and Africa and stuff. And there's some silly stuff
more
too.
of a Metal Gear Solid-esque game.
Yeah,
But
but
it sounds almost like GoldenEye.
But what I like about it is that it's an open world Metal Gear Solid where you can approach it from different angles depending on which missions you take on. But the thing is, I didn't start playing that portion of the game until last month because I had so many other games going on. So for like 6 months, I'm paying $18 a month for this game to just collect dust in my home. So finally, I got sick of it. I bought it used from GameStop and returned the GameFly one and just canceled it out because I realized as long as I keep this subscription, I'm just wasting money.
No, that makes perfect sense
Yeah, that's
to me.
pretty fair. Yeah.
And obviously, you should be paying that money towards Funimation subscriptions, so you can keep up with One Piece.
I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to do that because if you have a good broadband subscription for Funimation, you get like One Piece and these other animes in 1080p, like Blu-ray quality.
Yep.
Which is great because I've actually have several One Piece DVDs, but I've also been watching it on Funimation, and the Funimation picture is much sharper through streaming video.
I mean 1080.
When are you gonna break into the old 4K market?
So we're gonna keep moving on, keeping up the pace. But before I do, I have one quick question. Jason, what is the stupidest thing you've attached to a balloon so far?
Let's see. Outside of a horse, mostly you like horses and animals. And I just love when you attach them and they shoot off in the direction you always hear them screaming.
Excellent.
And the one thing that always bothers me is I now have a wolf companion. Because you pick up this little wolf puppy at near the beginning of the game, and he eventually grows up. And before that, you're using a horse, and you can command him to poop whatever you want.
What's his name?
It doesn't have a name, I don't think. Oh no, it's D-Dog. His name's D-Dog. And you have D-Horse, D-Dog, D-Walker, and
goodness.
and Quietly.
I love you, Kojima.
But the poor dog
Good time.
is not too bright. One of the things you have to do is get intel from the enemies. So what I'd do is I'd knock them out with a tranquilizer dart. Then I'd go over, and what I want to do is I want to kick them to wake them up. and then while they're groggy, I grab them from behind and get some intel out of them. The problem is my dog keeps following behind me, so I go to kick him. I end up kicking my dog in the face and knocking him out. I'm like, oh, man.
Animal cruelty.
Oh, man.
So, Saber, tell us about your adventures of kicking dogs in the face.
Actually, I haven't. Okay, I can't say that. I actually have, but it was an accident. I've been, as I had predicted, as soon as it came out, I kind of fell into the wondrous maze that is Fallout 4 as soon as it came out. I was lucky enough to get one of the Pip-Boy editions, which I still have not played with the Pip-Boy because I'm too afraid I'm going to break the dang thing. But I put in probably, I think the last I checked, it was 4 or 5 days worth of hours into the game so far.
Jeez, you're making me feel good about my time with Xenoblade.
But that's pretty much been my rabbit hole, I guess, for the past. I guess it came out in November.
So what has been your take on Fallout 4? Like, what have you liked about it? What have you had issues with?
There are a few nitpicks that I will say. The system for dialogue is really, really bad. Instead of actually saying what you're going to say, it gives you a generalization, and then you pick it, and it may not even match what the generalization actually was, but somebody who was doing the dialogue thought it did. The nice thing is you don't have to worry about weapon wear in this one, which is kind of nice, but there's more customization. And the other thing that's kind of weird is that you now are looking after basically the rest of the post-apocalyptic world in that you have to take care of settlements. So that means I have to take care of settlers, which means I have to do things like find out if somebody doesn't have enough water or if they don't have enough beds or if they're happy or unhappy, and when somebody gets kidnapped, I have to go and get them back.
Just like Animal Crossing.
Now, you got the you were one of the purchasers of the season pass, right?
Yes, and I got it before. If you're listening to this now, I don't know if you guys are aware, but they actually added more DLC. If you don't purchase it by March 1st, the price is going from $30 to $50.
Right. I think they've kind of upped the scale of some of the stuff that they were planning to do. I guess my question on that would be, it sounds like a lot of the early packs are going to be related to it'd be like your house building or your village building. Is that accurate?
Yeah, the first one that I saw that's coming out, I think, in March, I think relies heavily on the customization, and that's kind of good. It's just that there's one specific character, and he's a wonderful character by himself. You can have him as a companion, but anytime the game it's like having those dirt quests in MMO. You'll always have the one person who has another job for you that you don't want. Every time you see him, there's somebody else has been kidnapped, or their village is under attack.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. And I feel bad because he's a good character, and they were coming from the right place. But the problem is, like, you can see how many quests you've done, period. And he's the leader of the Minutemen, and, like, story quests, I've got maybe, like, 5 or 6 of the main story quests. I've done, like, 50-something Minutemen quests.
So basically, it's a situation of you seeing him come and says, for God's sakes, learn to frickin' take care of yourselves.
Yes. Or maybe the settlers should do something.
So, Reef, it looks like you have a couple games. One I'm familiar with, one I don't think I've even heard of. So, what's your pick of play this week?
The other thing actually isn't a game. So I put on my list the most recent David Bowie album, Black Star, and just because I kind of wanted to mention that because unfortunately, David Bowie did pass away last month, but that album, if you're a fan of modern music, I'd say that's a really good album to pick up because it's definitely very experimental, and especially the first track, it really tells us a story. And I think what I liked the most about it was that you can kind of go back and look at the album and the lyrics of the songs now, and you can tell that he kind of planned this, that he knew he was going to be passing away, so he kind of told this last little story of his. So I thought it was really very artistic, and I liked it a lot. So that's just something I wanted to mention. But the game that I put on my list that is actually a game is Invisible Ink, and it's apparently becoming very popular now. I I know a lot of people that have been playing it recently, and if you don't know what Invisible Ink is, it's really like a turn-based stealth strategy game. And the premise is that you're going and infiltrating various buildings around the world, trying to survive as a spy organization. And what's really, really cool about it is that everything is procedurally generated. So you play through it, and a single playthrough maybe would take you about 3 or 4 hours. But what ends up happening is that you beat the game and you can start over again. You've unlocked a few new things that you can try out, a few new characters, a few new weapons, and basically just start over again, and everything will be completely different through your next playthrough. So it's really fun, and it's easy to get lost in something like that.
So
Oh,
aside from the procedural generation, what sets this one apart from other turn-based strategy games like Fire Emblem or I guess XCOM or something?
I would say the big thing is that it's really purely a stealth game. You really don't have the tools to kill guards and stuff. You can knock them out for maybe 2 or 3 turns, but you really just have to sneak your way through things. And the more attention you draw to yourself, yeah, and the more attention you draw to yourself, then the worse things are for you, because you can end up with more guards spawning because they know that you're there, or you can have security cameras turn on and they'll track you down a lot more easily. And they even have things like robot drones that'll home in on you. It's really a pure stealth kind of mechanic. You cannot just go in guns a-blazing because there really aren't any guns to speak of anyway.
I probably shouldn't play this game.
So I'm basically going to be the odd person out here. I've been playing Yokai Watch. I've gotten several hours in.
We know.
I am not. It's like I talk about the games that I like and am playing in the chat room sometimes.
I know. I'm actually looking forward to starting. I got a copy for Christmas, and I still haven't beaten Pokemon Omega Ruby, so I'm kind of maybe just going to skip playing through the rest of that for now and actually just jump over to Yokai Watch.
Which it is getting popular enough. There is a bus, and I can resend the image if you'd like to put it on the website. One of our local downtown buses actually has a wraparound of Yokai Watch on it.
That is so surreal.
Get up. What do they sing at the beginning of that song?
I don't know. I really haven't cared.
I keep thinking it's ghetto punk. It sounds like that. I think it might be one of the first cases where there's a Japanese anime where parts of the song are in Japanese and the rest of it's in English.
Just because English sounds cooler.
That would be all Japanese anime openings ever.
Well, no, I mean Japanese anime openings have English parts to them, and then half Japanese. This would be the first time there's a English song in an anime that has Japanese parts, I think, for
Beautiful
translation.
Joe.
I think that happened in Macross a few times.
Japan.
So no, it's bizarre. Basically, one of the reasons why I was even into this in the first place is because I was hearing things that I was liking about it, specifically about the cartoon, from someone whose name I won't speak of in front of Jason here, who I enjoy listening to his opinions of, and Jason does not. Basically, I like Level 5. I like the kind of weird, bizarre stuff they do. I like how they take
puzzle boxes,
existing genres. I like how they blow out everything into big, stupid shonen anime with insane stories and bizarre humor. And to me, the Yokai Watch kind of took some of the general ideas of Pokemon. You can't escape the Pokemon comparisons with this. It's not the same, but it's different enough that I think that you can get a very different experience from it.
No, it's not quite the same.
When I got to the game itself, basically, one of the big criticisms I have of Pokemon is that, in spite of all the, quote, character that it kind of has through all of its monsters and everything, the way it plays and the way it builds a world is really kind of sanitary. Like, whenever they take one step forward, it always feels like they take 2 steps back. In Heart Gold, Soul Silver, hey, you could have your Pokemon walk behind you. That's really cool. Let's get rid of that for the next one.
Yeah, well, they got rid of so much in Black and White. I was so mad. You remember that, don't you?
Yeah, well, yeah, they bring in these little things that just are kind of fun little things, and then they replace it with other fun little things. And I mean, it's good to experiment, but at the same time, it still feels like my monsters aren't necessarily the things that I can care about or get into. It just kind of feels like, yeah, these look cool, and these are cool tools. To me, Yokai Watch is kind of a little bit more, we'll say, Pokemon with character. Like, it actually has a more built-up story. The spirits that you befriend actually talk. You don't actually catch them. You fight them, and eventually, if you give them food they like, or if you have characters that they like, then after you defeat them in battle, sometimes they'll walk up to you and say, hey, I want to be your friend. You want to be my friend? I'll give you my medal.
Do you have to leave bread and milk? Because that's a very Japanese thing for ghosts or spirits.
You have to, at the beginning of a battle, you have the opportunity to toss one piece of food at them. And sometimes it is bread or milk. Sometimes it's like, there's like categories. Hey, you can toss Chinese food or ramen or a rice ball.
It's a little bit of an Undertale there, huh? Well, you can try the non-violent option.
No, you can't try the non-violent option, because after you throw them something you like, you still have to beat the crap out of them.
Oh!
The battle's still
the fun really
for you.
You just have to make sure that by the end of it, hey, I like how you beat me up. Let's be friends. Basically, I think a lot of what it comes down to is it's not as mechanically dense as Pokemon. Instead of just kind of setting up your team as you would based on a lot of specific elements, they give you a lot of leeway on just kind of muscling up your Yokai Watch team. You can definitely play it a little bit more strategically and min-maxy, but if you just play enough, you can absolutely get through the story without thinking, oh, well, this guy is a slippery type yokai with this type of personality, which means he'll use this. It's also kind of weird because the yokai, the spirits themselves, you don't control them per se. A lot of it is you kind of hanging back and controlling the flow of battle, where the yokai that you send out themselves just attack and do things autonomously, and they can attack, they can use special attacks, they can guard, they can inspirit, which causes special effects on opponents or friends. And it's your job to just kind of say, okay, this guy's losing HP, I've got to feed him or either rotate him out of battle. And, hey, this guy over here, he's charged up, I can summon his special attack, which activates a little mini-game. If you get inspirited by an opponent, you have to drag someone to the back and then play a little mini-game to kind of release them from being inspirited, that kind of stuff. So at the beginning, whenever you're just kind of managing things and you don't have much to manage, it's pretty slow to start. But by the end of it, you're really going to have to keep an eye on things, keep switching out your spirits, keep playing these small mini-games to make sure that they're not getting debuffed, that kind of stuff. It's not, again, if you're kind of looking at Pokemon and saying, you know, this is a fun world, but I kind of want more from it, I think Yokai Watch is a good game, but ultimately its biggest flaw is that a lot of the aspects of it are a little bit more random that I like. I've gotten a lot of frustration just getting the most expensive friggin' piece of bread, saying, this is the thing that you like, I'm battling you trying to be your friend, be my friend! Dang it! And
getting stabbed by the old random numbers.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough that way, but that honestly, that's kind of like the, it's on par with, hey, you've gotten your Mewtwo down to 1%, you've got him asleep, why won't you work for all that kind of stuff? But
well, that's why you got to save the Master Ball.
I enjoy it. I don't think it's a replacement for Pokemon, but I do definitely encourage people to, if you can watch that kind of weird shonen anime type stuff, it's funny, it's stupid, it's bizarre, and it just has character that Pokemon does not have.
It's kind of a little bit like a situation comedy RPG. I mean, everything's broken into like little episodes, so
yeah,
it's kind of good if you have a short attention span. You could just do one little story and for the day,
Yeah.
Which is good for a portable game.
That's very true, actually. I was gonna bring that up.
And hey, the yokai watch and actually have personalities, which is fun. You know what? It's fun.
Yeah.
Nintendo, are you listening? That stuff is fun.
You mean Tentacruel doesn't have a personality?
He has a personality that directly affects his stats, and that's all it affects. So, I think it's about time we move over to the spin cycle. So,
Spinning.
So in the spin cycle this month, we're kind of looking at a recent Polygon interview, which
Oh no.
it's look, I know it's Polygon. I'm trying not to judge here because I'm focusing more on the interview side of it and not on the giant, huge featurette that they kind of wrapped it around. Which, I mean, I skimmed it. It's kind of a big, long to-do, mostly about, hey, we talked to the people who made one of the directors of Sonic Boom, or one of the creative people behind Sonic Boom, and how happy he was with Sega. Hey, here's this history of how Sonic kind of effed up, and here's weird art to go with it, that kind of stuff. So, but I wanted to focus a little bit more on some quote pulls from IIZUKA, a.k.a. the current director of Sonic Team, a.k.a. the guy who's in charge of all the Japanese Sonic games. So, I guess the first one, Reef, you have a beautiful man voice. Why don't you play up our first quote from the Polygon article? I think we lost Reef.
No, you're just cutting out here and there, so I didn't.
Sorry. Saber, why don't you take Saber, you have a beautiful man voice. Why don't you take the first quote?
IIZUKA tells Polygon he hopes Sonic games will be a part of the solution by putting a greater emphasis on quality.
So, this is them pulling that old rabbit out of the hat. So, Jason, as someone who has been around the block a few times, about what number of statements is this?
Number of statements that said, "Oh, we're gonna really improve it this time. It's gonna be better than before."
Yes.
Is that what you mean?
Basically.
I don't know. I mean, they were saying this with their apology letter earlier last year too.
Yeah, it's kind of a running thing with Sega. I mean, it almost builds by the thing I hate to talk about, the infamous JPEG of the Sonic cycle. That, hey, Sega's saying stuff. Sega's saying, hey, we're really trying here. But at the same time, I kind of want to separate this out here because this is IIZUKA saying this. This isn't necessarily Sega saying this. And later quotes will kind of emphasize that a bit. I mean, do we feel he has been? Do we feel that this promise is still being made to a point?
Well, for Sonic Team, I think in the last 8 years they've done their best to put out a quality Sonic game. I mean, I always loved Sonic Unleashed. I thought that was a good game from not really Black Knight, so to speak, but I mean Colors
Colors was good.
Generations was good. Lost World was solid, but it was very experimental and a little off, but otherwise not bad. It's just a lot of those other Sonic games that aren't necessarily the best.
So it's kind of.
Here's one thing that I.
Go ahead.
What's that?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, here's one thing that I really feel kind of puts this quote. It rakes the quote over the coals, is what it does. Is the fact that it's been made multiple times before to the point where we can joke about it. It may not necessarily have been Iizuka every time, but the fact that it has come up in conversation from people that work on Sonic does not bode well necessarily for the veracity of whether or not this is going to happen or not.
They said for Sonic 06 it was going back to its roots. So you can't always, judge what they say, really.
Well,
Yeah.
it was also Yuji Naka saying, what if Sonic was in the real world? Like in Sonic
No.
Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 or something.
No.
I hate to be that guy.
We'll get back to that later.
I'm not saying Yuji Naka is the problem with past Sonic games, but I am noting the fact that their upswing happened to coincide with when he left. Now, I'm not saying one thing led to another. I'm just saying, that it is kind of coincidental. Something happened there. Something happened there.
Correlation does not imply causation, but...
But correlation exists, we'll say.
Yes, exactly.
I'm half kidding, but
Right.
also half not kidding. So, Reef, our last quote kind of plays into this quote. Would you like to take this one?
Sure. It says, he cites Rise of Lyric, explaining how the priority was put into shipping the title rather than quality and fan expectation. He also admits that Sonic Team wasn't, quote, deeply involved with the says that the internal standard for its products, giving the team the necessary resources to craft something that lives up to fans' expectations.
Yeah. I think anyone who's been following Sonic Boom will probably agree with the first part of that statement.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that game did not feel like a Sonic Team game at all.
It did not feel like a completed game at all.
Didn't feel like a
Right,
Sonic
right.
game almost at all.
So,
And
but-
I think that really cuts the core of some of the problems with the Sonic franchise is that not super duper often, but more often than should happen, they do try to ship the game over, prioritize shipping the game over completing the game, and that's not something you should do.
that is the crux of why I still like Sonic, but I have huge, huge problems with Sega. And the problem is, a lot of what Iizuka is saying, I believe he's actually being pretty sincere with this, but at the same time, I have absolutely no faith and confidence in Sega as a company in business terms, because
Right.
I
and that's the thing.
believe Iizuka has best of intentions. I don't think he wants to ship out games that are unfinished or uncompleted, as Jason could probably attest to. The end of the last major Sonic game, Sonic Lost Worlds, kind of has this big string of half-finished level ideas at the end of it. I just think business is going to be business. And whether he wants to or not, Sega has a really strong bottom line they associate with Sonic. How do you guys feel? Does this make sense?
Yeah, and I mean the thing is that it's happened. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the thing is this has happened enough times, and that the fact that they have to acknowledge this as being a problem, it just feels like this is their sort of half apology. Yeah, we'll definitely try harder next time, we promise. And I don't know, it just feels very insincere to me in a way.
I mean, if you look at it, I don't think a lot of the things that get said, like this is Iizuka saying this. This is the software developer saying this. This is not the company saying this. And occasionally you'll have someone like Aaron Weber come out and kind of mirror talk that, but at the same time, he doesn't actually control a lot of it. A lot of what's going on with development is all about Sega Japan, and it seems very rare that we get a lot of statements out of them. Does that seem accurate, Jason?
That's true. I mean, we've been getting a lot of different like apology statements from Sega, or saying they're gonna try harder this time.
But I mean, a lot of those come from Sega of America or some of the developers. It's just very rare we get any real statements out of Sega Japan, isn't it?
That's very true.
I think maybe they're hoping their actions speak louder than words, but when they don't do either of them, it's kind of hard.
Well, the problem is, if you have the creative division that absolutely wants to do what they set out to do, and if you have the business side of things that is shooting them in the nuts, I mean, you kind of have a crapshoot there. I mean, there is that kind of separation there. I don't know if... I'm not saying that Sonic 06 would have come out as a better game. Well, yeah, it literally would have come out as a better game if it got delayed out of there. I'm not saying that it would have become...
definitely.
It wouldn't have been the ideal game no matter what the situation, because there are fundamental problems with that game that go deeper than the glitches.
I kind of think the same about Rise of Lyric, because Rise of Lyric doesn't always feel like a Sonic game. It feels like a platform exploration, puzzle-solving, switch-hitting game that's very, very slow-paced for a Sonic game.
Big Red Button... It felt like they wanted to make something that was more akin to what they usually make, only it didn't necessarily come across as that. It didn't necessarily come across as a fit for Sonic. It just came across as a weird... It came across as a licensed game. I mean, that beginning and end of it, that's what Sonic Boom was. It was a licensed game.
It felt like I got a Jak and Daxter game, but I'm playing as Sonic and his friends instead, almost.
I don't think Jak and Daxter didn't have as many beat 'em up elements, though, did it? It was more of a
No, I don't think so.
Okay, because a lot of Rise of Lyric's issues come from it being a beat 'em up, not necessarily it being a platformer. So, why don't we kind of continue on now that we're on that topic? Jason, why don't you take the next quote? And this is actually coming from IIZUKA himself.
Because Rise of Lyric tried a different take on Sonic from the norm, and considering the results, this made Sonic Team feel like we wanted to build a Sonic title which represents the evolution of the Sonic series over the last 20 years.
So, I'll let you guys take your interpretation, but I have a rather strong interpretation of what this actually means.
I don't know, maybe Generations 2 or something along that line?
There we go. There, I don't even have to say it.
If you look at the 25th anniversary logo stuff and the imagery they've been doing, it's classic Sonic, modern Sonic, and Sonic Boom Sonic. And that's pretty much all they've been showing is those three Sonics.
I kind of look at this, and I'm going to read the next one, and it kind of plays into how I'm feeling about the series. IIZUKA continues, though the character won't change, we do think that the game should always be open to evolving and constantly improving themselves. And whether or not you feel they're improving, I will say this. It is a series where they take a lot of... honestly, you might not see it, but they kind of do take a lot of creative risks in how they design. They do start at the beginning again and just build something completely new. One game is very different from another game is very different from another game. If you look at Sonic Heroes is so different than the Sonic Adventure games. Sonic 06 is very different than Sonic Heroes. It's a little bit closer to Adventure. The Sonic Storybook games just completely throw everything out the window. Sonic Colors is completely different than any of them. Sonic Generations takes a little bit of Sonic Colors, but also mixes in other elements and refines it all. Then Sonic Lost World just throws that all out the window. It's a weird... It's kind of a situation where I think a lot of people want them to pick something and stick with it and refine it, but at the same time, I also kind of appreciate that, you know what, I'm getting a Sonic game this year. It might not necessarily be the most refined, but it's gonna be very different than the last Sonic game I played.
Oh yeah, but that could be both good and bad. I mean, I think they had a strong formula with the daytime unleashed stages and color stages and generations, and I think that's the formula that they should stick to, but evolve from there.
And I acknowledge that. Like, at the end of the day, I'm not trying to justify, hey, this bad game is good because it's different. I'm just saying, you know what? Whether or not I like the game, Sonic and Sonic Lost Worlds is something that I haven't played as Sonic before, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. But you know what? I'm happy I played it. I'm glad I had that experience. It definitely was something that challenged what I thought about Sonic. So again, like, I don't know if I necessarily want them to stop. I think stop experimenting, but I think ultimately, for the sake of the franchise, it would, for people outside of me, it would probably be better if they did focus on a gameplay style that they refined, more so than making every single one of them different. And
right, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah,
at least for a little while.
Right, which is kind of what you got whenever you looked at colors versus generations.
Mm-hmm.
So, the next part of the spin cycle here, I'm going to get into some other quotes. I have to preface this now. Okay. The quotes I'm about to read are from the Sonic Stadium message board from a user by the name of Van. I have no way of confirming that this person is actually associated with the upcoming 2018 Sonic the Hedgehog movie coming from Sony. Which means everything I say, everything this person has said, take it with a grain of salt, because this is the internet. Anyone can realistically say they are anyone. But you know what? The thread has been going long enough. TSSZ felt it was significant enough to report it, and while I don't always agree with their standards, it gives us a good excuse just to frickin' talk about the movie. So,
I mean, do you really need a good excuse to talk about the movie?
In this case, yes, we need a good excuse to actually talk about the movie. Otherwise, I will not want to talk about the movie. I will want to shove the movie into a little box and forget about it until it dies. So, we've got Van Robacho. Someone can correct me in the comment section. I don't care. Whatever. Van is apparently a writer attached to the currently 2018 Sonic the Hedgehog live action and CG movie from Sony. He had a couple things to say about fan reaction to the very concept, to the directorial choices. We know the director is the same person who worked on Smurfs 2. We know that the movie itself is going to be a combination of live action and CG. And much like many other people, that scares the crap out of me. So
yeah.
let's hope he can provide at least a little bit of solace if he is who he says he is. Reef, let's go back around to you.
Who? Did you say Reef?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm ready. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, it says, I completely understand the hesitation that many of the fans have had about the live-action component. It's a technique that has mixed success in the past. I think the movie will speak for itself and prove these concerns wrong. We aren't making Smurfs with Sonic, we're making Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm so excited about the movie, as both a fan and as a writer who loves to tell awesome stories.
Okay.
I think people who are worried about this... Oh, sorry.
I was going to stop and say, okay, let's break this down a little bit. Now, without using either the words Roger or Rabbit, I'd like you to tell me another really good, solid example of a very cartoony character in a live-action scenario that has worked well.
Knobs and brooms.
James Cameron's Avatar.
Paddington?
Okay. I will accept, well...
Mary Poppins.
Colossus and Deadpool. He's entirely CG and very cartoony compared to regular.
Deadpool I will give you. Some of the others, I think it's kind of getting outside the realm of cartooniness. The biggest issue I'm having right now is... It kind of goes with what I said about Yuji Naka versus IIZUKA, is that whenever Naka left, the series started to get a little bit funnier, a little bit cartoonier. I liked the artistic direction that Unleashed took, how they weren't, if you look at Adventure, they were these, as best as Dreamcast could rendered, anime-style tall people. Then we get into Sonic Adventure 2, and it just kind of doubled down on that. Then we get into Sonic 06, and we're looking at Final Fantasy dumpster rejects.
Right.
Like they just stole characters from The Sims and populated NPCs with them. And then we get to IIZUKA, and it's like, you know, we kind of have this weird anime girl who lives in a ring. We have the weird wizard lady, but there's not much beyond that. We also have these weird other creatures. We've indoctrinated other Sonic characters to play these roles. We get to Sonic Unleashed. And Sonic Unleashed just throws everything out the window again and says, you know what? All these characters, just super cartoony. Make cartoons. And that is a lot of...
Pixar humans, basically.
Yeah. I don't necessarily always like the comparison to Pixar, but what you said makes sense. And what's great about it is, when they made Unleashed, they actually did make a cartoon. Literally, they made cartoons based on those models and art style. And those are probably my favorite bit of legacy from that game.
I really liked those cartoons, actually. I thought they were adorable.
And then we kind of look at Colors. Colors takes a very comedic approach to it. It's silly, it's lighthearted. We go even further to Generations. Generations is hardly serious. It's not super funny.
Yeah, that was Pontac and Graf, who personally I thought they did a great job on Colors. I haven't been really happy with anything they've done since, to be honest.
But at the same time, it's still better than them trying to grab the dark again.
Yes, I'll agree with that.
Right.
Because once they started on the road with Shadow with that, it's one of the big reasons Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure do hold up is because the performances were bad, and it kind of reflects on, you know, the writing on this isn't great. The story's okay, but basically the point I'm trying to make is I like where Sonic is right now tonally.
Okay.
And I have concerns about live action either going too far with that or in the exact opposite direction, that they attempt to make it a bit more serious, because it's really hard to pull off cartoony comedy in the combined live action and CG realm, as I've seen such so far. What would you guys say? Do you think that this is something that they'll be able to pull off?
Well, hear me out, and this is going to be the worst idea you've ever heard.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is going to be the worst idea you've ever heard, but I
Are you
say
sure
they should
about that?
go make it rated R. Because either you end up with something like Deadpool, which is rated R, or you end up with something like Ted, which is also rated R. Neither one of those are what you should be doing. But if they're going to make this terrible, and I think they're going to make it terrible, they might as well make it.
Slow clap.
That is a beautiful idea. Oh.
I think the core thing is here is that they just need to get John Oliver to voice Sonic.
Well, that was what I was hoping for. That's exactly what I wanted to say. I think John Oliver should be Sonic.
I think that will set the right.
Are you sure he shouldn't be Tails though? Because I feel like he'd be a better Tails.
Well, no, you
Yeah,
have to.
Jon Stewart has to be Tails.
I was thinking we could make it like
okay.
I was thinking like a black buddy cop comedy with Tails. Like Tails is Fly's character.
Well, no, it doesn't make any sense at all, but sure, yeah.
As opposed to the rest of this premise.
Here's the problem with the whole
I know.
humans interacting with them and whatnot. Is they've done that in Sonic X, which was an anime, and it still wasn't very good.
They've done it in a lot of things where it wasn't very good. Like all the games that I talked about, it doesn't.
Sonic 06, they mixed it and didn't work.
Why do you have to bring that up?
It's one of the reasons why I kind of look at Sonic Boom, and even with that game's flaws and kind of what the cartoon delivered on, you know, it works better when everyone's just a freaking animal.
Yeah, I know.
So it makes it difficult to look at. Like you can even look, and I'm not even saying, hey, this is an example of something good, or that I dislike this or I do like this. But if you look at the big Sonic fan film by it was I can't remember his name. Is it LeBron? Or no, that was the other one I thought.
Are we talking about the one that had the angry video game nerd in it?
Yeah, the one that was kind of the low budget, the mix of.
They have the nostalgia critic in it too.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's been a while since I've seen that.
I apologize, I can't remember the director of that. I enjoyed it for it being a silly little fan film of something that I probably would watch on YouTube anyway. But
Yeah.
But that doesn't actually work. I mean, it kind of proved it didn't actually work.
No, that's a good point.
So, the ending of that quote, Saber.
Let me pull this. Sorry. Well, I think people who are worried this will be Alvin, Smurfs, Garfield are going to be very pleasantly surprised.
No, they're not!
No. The fact that you brought up those specific examples does not fill me with confidence.
I will say this in the defense, though. Bad movie is always made with best of intentions, but it is always a product of many, many people. And a good movie is a miracle because all of the pieces have to come together.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of these other things, they kind of fail because of the writing. Let's be honest. A lot of the problems come down to premise and writing. If they can write a good Sonic film, then I think it makes it easier to direct a good Sonic film. And
But can they write a good Sonic film?
That is the thing that is to be determined. It is ultimately, to me, what's going to make or break this. Like, I can complain day and night about, well, I don't like the style of this, I don't think it works with the world, the premise is bad, and I've done that for the last 15 minutes. But they can overcome that. There are ways to... I mean, look, I'm not saying that this is on the same tier as the Lego film, but the person in this forum actually says, you know what, Lego film was one of my favorites, there is no way anybody thought that, you can make a film out of Lego as a property.
That's very true.
And then they got the right people to do it, and they did it in the right way, and it came out. And it was reamed in the Emmys, or not the Emmys, the Oscars. But it was still one of the best animated films. It's still one of the best animated films of that year, in a pretty hotly contested year as well. So,
yeah, I mean, I guess Jason, I got to grant you some of these things.
I mean, Jason, we haven't heard from you much. Like, where do you stand on the whole movie thing thus far? I think we lost Jason.
Jason promises 3 thumbs down. You heard it here first, folks.
Well, hopefully he'll be back at some point in the future. Oh, he's on mute, so he must have left or something.
Oh, dear.
So
he's probably so furious at this discussion of topics that he just
had to walk away.
I gotta get out of here before I break my computer in half.
He is intensely angry. So, for the people who will not hear this in the podcast version, I guess we just have a little bit of shooting the crap about what's been going on until he gets back.
Well, what's been going on? Other than the fact that I got hung up on for like 6 or 7 minutes.
Just crazy stuff. Like this has kind of been the year for me of games that are basically cocaine.
That reminds me, I thought of something that Level 5 did that was really bad.
I'm sure they've done stuff that's been really bad.
Oh, it was Gundam Age.
I will take your word for it. But at the same time, you're the Gundam person. I'm the person who watches kids save the world with toys. And
oh no, I would have rather got.
So, Jason.
Yeah, I'm back.
Saber, what's the Gundam show with the model kits?
I was about to say, you've been rather quiet on the topic for a while, and then I found out, hey, he muted his mic.
That would be Gundam Build Fighters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had to go away for a second.
Is saving the world with toys, and that was amazing. Anyway, go ahead.
It was.
So, Jason, where do you fall on the whole movie position right now? You kind of threw in the same kind of cynicism that we had, but where do you legitimately stand?
Well, like you said, every movie has good intentions behind it, but are marred with about a million bad decisions half the time. And I think that might be the case here again. I mean, we're talking about it is the director of Smurfs doing this, correct?
We know it is the director of Smurfs 2.
Smurfs 2.
I don't know who all of the writing staff is, but
when you combine that with the fact that it's half CG and half live action, it kind of makes it hard to not end up, bad in quality. It may not be Smurfs 2 bad or even Garfield bad, but my hopes are not very high.
There's not a good legacy of these movies.
No.
So.
Doesn't mean it couldn't happen, but, for me it's doubtful.
It basically sounds like we're all cautiously pessimistic.
Yeah.
Actually, it's really kind of funny. The fact that both of these quotes are like, the one from IIZUKA and then the one from this guy, they're like, we're gonna definitely try to bring quality to the franchise. Just stay tuned. You'll find out good things are down the pike.
But if they were gonna say that, then why did they mention things like the Smurfs?
Well, because they're saying it's not going to be the Smurfs, but we all know better.
I mean, it's literally not going to be the Smurfs. There certainly will not be a blue protagonist in it. Going into a real world that he doesn't have a lot of business being in. So, I think that's going to wrap up this discussion. Again, hey, a lot of people saying things. There's a good reason to be hopeful, but equal as much reason to say, you know what? You told us this before. Please show, don't tell.
There's a time when you leave the abuser.
Right. Well, let's not get into that because then we're going to lose audience. But my point is, we need Sega right now more than anything to show, not tell. And they started to do so.
Yeah.
We need them to continue to do so. And whenever they do things like Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, it's really hard to take them at their word. Admittedly, there are circumstances based on who's saying it and the context in which they're saying it, but there's definitely a disconnect between what the creative people want and what the business people see as important or feasible, I think is what we can probably all take away from this.
Yeah.
Right.
So this kind of brings us into the Spin Box, our
No, it doesn't.
always returning email section, and basically we can summarize the Spin Box right now as email us your discussion questions, damn it. We
See,
need
that's
them.
why.
We want you to give us good discussion topics. Hey, if the discussion topic's good enough, we just might make it our main topic, but we like to discuss Sonic, and we want to know, hey, what do you want discussed about in the Sonic region, in the Sonic realm? What do you want to know? What do you want punditry on?
Topics
What do you want?
are easier to discuss than
It's easier for a large quantity of people to come up with topics than it is for me to come up with topics all the time, unless something is super topical.
Fair enough. Plus,
And-
I like to read stuff in the Spin Box.
And of course, the all-important email you can send it to is thespindash@gmail.com. Super easy. The Spindash, all one word, @gmail.com. Send us things you want us to talk about, things you like, things you don't like about Sonic, ideas about Sonic. Give us things that we could discuss for
no
your
fan
pleasure.
fiction, please.
Send us fan fiction as long as it's in 2 paragraphs.
Or
They're gonna be the-
personas.
They're going to be the longest paragraphs ever. And finally, we're going to wrap up the show this month with Blast Processing. Yes, Blast Processing, that little segment that we have always done ever, all the time, forever. That is just about
always will.
something inconsistent, something non-existent, something that just isn't as important. Much unlike Blast Processing in the Sega Genesis, which was the most important thing in the whole thing.
Something appalling, something for everyone to Spindash tonight.
And so I thought for our introductory Blast Processing of the new Spindash Live format, I thought we would all make predictions about Sonic in 2016 and beyond.
Do they have to be real predictions?
They can be however you interpreted that.
Oh
So-
boy.
So, is there any volunteers to go first?
I'll go first.
Saber, by all means.
I think that in the future, Sonic will stretch his boundaries and he will, try different things out, experiment. I think that he
Sonic
will
Unleashed
find-
2 is what I'm hearing.
Well, I was going to say
I'm
he
hearing
will-
LSD.
I was going with that he might try another color but blue, but that's good. Those are good interpretations too. So,
Actually, in the upcoming Sonic Talk, Jason might have something to say about that.
oh, that's right.
Yeah, we're doing back-to-back episodes tonight.
Should I go ahead and make my prediction, or
Yes,
does anyone else
please.
want to?
I'll
Go
say
ahead.
that I think with the 25th anniversary thing going on right now, it's not just going to be one Sonic game with all 3 characters, although I think that's a strong possibility, but I think we'll see at least one Sonic game each from the different genres. I think there's a good possibility we may see another 2D Sonic game out this year, and I'm pretty sure the reason that they delayed Sonic Boom Fire and Ice is just so we can have a Sonic Boom game out during the 25th anniversary
Yeah,
of Sonic itself.
I'm actually going in the opposite direction, and I'm basing a lot of this on the art that they provided. I bet, well, I'm not going to bet this, but my prediction for this year is that they are going to have another anniversary game in the same vein of Sonic Generations, and I believe that it may play in different ways. It won't necessarily be a beat 'em up and take advantage of all those different ways, but I think it will have classic Sonic, modern Sonic,
Future Sonic?
Sonic Boom, and if I'm really stretching here based off of some oddball predictions, I'm almost thinking it's possible they could bring in elements of Comic Sonic, which they have actually officially named Comic Sonic now.
Isn't Comic Sonic just a lot like regular Sonic?
He's a lot more adult.
He's better written.
That is true.
Yeah, but I'm talking like Comic Sonic would actually have elements of the world, although I think the only elements that they would take out of that world are the main
Sally.
cast. Yeah, basically the main cast.
Sally.
But the main cast is good.
This is my wild prediction. This is my, hey, GX is off his meds, saying crazy things onto the internet. That's not entirely fair. I shouldn't degrade people who take medication for. You get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think we will probably see more Sonic Boom cartoons closer to the fall season.
I actually really enjoy the Sonic Boom cartoon.
I thought it was cute.
I think we will see leaked artwork and possibly stills of the Sonic movie, but we will not see anything along the lines of a trailer or a teaser until next year.
One other thing I'd like to add is I think this is going to be a good year for Sonic games, especially compared to 2015, but I think 2017 is going to be another crap year.
Well, we know of at least two so far. We know Fire and Ice, and we know the next Olympic game. I'm going to put another prediction out there. I think the next Olympic game is going to be all right. I think it's going to be a pretty okay, good Olympic game.
To be honest, the 3DS one doesn't look half bad.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the best one we've had since the first Winter Olympics game. Again, hey, Crazy GX making predictions. Hey,
I like that prediction.
I certainly like predictions based on, hey, this game might be good. Reef, I don't think you contributed. Give us your wild, crazy prediction.
My wild, crazy prediction is that Sonic the Hedgehog is going to come out in support of the Donald Trump presidential campaign because Sonic has had it up to here with illegal aliens invading his planet and trying to kill him and all of his friends.
Hey, you know what? Sonic loves aliens. That's why he merges with them in every game ever since Sonic Colors. And he certainly is not in favor of building walls between him and where he wants to go. And Sonic absolutely sides with the Pope because he is super Catholic.
He is. He eats hot dogs on.
Nah, I guess you're right. He is probably a bit more Jewish. I mean, you can really tell he's been circumcised to hell and back. You can tell he's been circumcised all the way.
Oh, that's not circumcision. That's. Oh.
Yes. So,
I wish that my audio hadn't cut out. I would have loved to have heard what any of that had to do with anything.
Don't worry. You didn't miss anything important.
Except for, dismemberment.
Yeah.
That's the best kind.
So I think with that, I think, yeah, we're gonna cut out for the evening, and I hope you enjoyed our first Sonic Live episode. Given that we haven't had any viewers, it hasn't been very live, but you're gonna be able to catch it in podcast form when I say that, you're probably listening it in podcast form. So,
who cares?
Hey, until next time, I'm GX, he's Reef, she's Saber,
Evil
and
Dr.
he's
Reef.
Jason. And this is Spindash. Until next time, we're up, over, and gone. Peace out, people.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Bye.